Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with what should be our 81st episode of Book of Hours, our first run on YouTube, playing as the artist, and it should be the new year. So Happy New Year to everyone. I hope your Christmas holidays treated you well. I hope that the new year treats you well. I think a few of you have congratulated me on the new job, so thank you for that, and certainly I'm very excited for what's coming up. A little nervous, but I hope that you all have comparable things to get excited about. Now, I've been delighted by some of the comments that I've been reading over the course of this playthrough, and I'm learning that my forgetfulness can sometimes be something of an asset. I do recall we read a fairly significant book for me. So I do kind of want to follow up on that when I can, but I think probably the most important thing for me to do right now is try and bank some of the lessons. Okay, so we've got our delivery from Cater and Hero on the way. And I'll be honest with you, I actually don't think I wrote down any notes in terms of my leveling up. I seem to... Oh, right. We've actually got all our work ahead of us between the Inks of Revelation and the Edicts Liminal. Good lord. Okay, how am I going to handle this? Well, you know what? Let's just do this the old-fashioned way. So, Inks of Revelation. And right, I think the moth is going to be conflicting between both of these. So, let's just write this down and work accordingly. So I should also take a second here. What I'll do is I'll make separate entries for Lantern, Moth, and I think it was Knock, yeah. And that's just so that I can keep things straight between the two series. Now, unfortunately, for those of you that don't like long stretches of dialogue without gameplay, this may be a rather tedious little section for you, but unfortunately we're far enough with Edicts Liminal and Inks of Revelation that I actually really do need to put the work in here. So Impulse, and we had Fog, but it looks like I used that for something else. Okay, Satisfaction I believe is Grail and Heart, so that won't help us here. Revelation's clearly for Lantern. Looks like we don't have... Oh no, hang on, we are already talking with Mrs. Kill. Okay, that's good. Secret Thresholds. Oh, God. Well, that one's definitely Knock. I get the feeling that that's Moon as well. Foresight is definitely a Lantern. Hindsight, so that's Winter and Scale, if memory... Or, well, Hindsight and Regret may both be Winter and Scale, but for some reason, I always feel a little conflicted on that. Like, really, at this point, I should be trusting my instincts and just moving on. This is one of the funny things about playing this on YouTube rather than the one where I was keeping some notes. But let me just take a minute to think about this. So I would say that Regret almost certainly... Well... The more I think about it, actually, Regret I think is Forge, and the Hindsight is the Scale. I'm going to go with that for now. But I also think, like, it's not really relevant to either of these cases right now. Now, Confounding Parable is Intuition with extra Sky. Intuition doesn't have Moth. It has Rose and Moon, I think. Contradiction, Edge and Moon. Fear... Man, I'm really messing this up. Edge and Scale. Savage Hymns, good lord. Scale and Sky. Gossip is Grail and Rose. Storm, heart and sky. Solace, heart and sky. Pattern, well, that's knock at least. Salt, good lord, I keep getting this one wrong. So I think salt actually has a knock component to it. I would definitely have a moon. But anyways, it's sufficient for the knock side of things. Earth sign, well, we have that here, but that's a nectar and scale, so that doesn't do anything for us. Beguiling melodies would be grail and sky. Cheerful ditties would be heart and sky. Stolen secrets, well, we've got that right here. That's a knock and moon. So interestingly enough, Edict's Liminal is really starting to deliver. Now this is interesting. So there apparently is only one moth for me to work with. That feels wrong, but I don't like the expectation. If I say it feels wrong, the expectation for me would be that I can present a counterexample, and I don't actually think I can. But it did occur to me that I got a couple of other things up my sleeve. Okay, so bittersweet certainties. So that gives me 3 lantern memories, 1 moth, and 4 knock memories. Now for Inks of Revelation, I'm going to need 7. And then for Edict's Liminal, I'm going to need 8. Now with lantern, I can also take advantage of sight. So that gives me a 4th to work with. And then with moth, we know we can work with a name day riddle. For knock, I think now we have the stolen secrets. It's not immediately clear. I guess technically we can rely on the name day riddle again, but that would be used for Edict's Liminal, so I'm sort of back in the same boat here. So unfortunately what this means for me is that with knock, I've got a total of 6, and with lantern I've got with lantern I've also got 6. So this is the really frustrating part, is I'm just on the edge of what I need for lantern. And I'm really trying to think. The best bet for me would definitely be to find some other memory that I can work with. Now the Newman, which we haven't seen yet, would definitely count as one. We already covered sight. Now if there was a moth equivalent to sight, that would be another matter, but I think we've got touch is okay. So sight is lantern, touch is forge, taste is grail, sound is heart, and scent is nectar. So we know we can't get any help there. I seem to remember when I first started playing Intuition, I was always under the impression that it had moth, because it feels like it should be a moth thing, but that's kind of ignoring the new new statuses. Okay, so we shouldn't expect something from Mrs. Kill that we can't get ourselves. So then the remaining question would be, if I interact with, say, something like the serpent, does that give me something? Now, if I remember correctly, the viper gives me an earth sign. And I think the cat and the dog give solace. But then there's the, I think the stimfling winds up giving something a little unusual. Oh, hang on. I am forgetting one fairly significant item, and that is the old moment. The old moment gives me lantern. In fact, it also gives me moth now that I think about it. So let me add that, because I think what I've just stumbled into is actually the solution for lantern, at least. Actually, come to think of it, old moment gives me moth as well, so that should crack the puzzle for both Inks of Revelation and Edict's Liminal. Okay, so 10 minutes in, we are now ready to make some decisions. Now, the thing that makes this hard is that it's midday already, and I have all my work ahead of me in terms of getting things built. So, I need to remember how to make an old moment, and I also need to find an effective way to produce the name day riddle and the okay, so revelation we have a foresight, we can get a bittersweet certainty in 1 minute using any element of the soul, so we're good there. Sight is, again, something that we do with a consideration. The old moment is a tough one. Impulse we already have. Name day riddle is the thing that we're going to work on. So name day riddle, I think with Edict's Liminal, is trivial. In fact, yeah, so we'd probably just throw the regret in there somewhere. We already have what we need there. So that's good. Coil and Chasm probably seems to be the most likely candidate for an old moment. Okay. Now, right, I think this is one of these nasty ones where I need to... Yeah, I think I need to give up something fairly substantial on this one. So it used to be that we'd use the Lignum Vitae Blanc, but maybe I can get away with something a little different this time. So the Nocturnaries probably... maybe not. Well, Coil and Chasm sort of works here. Let's play around, because it looks like this is going to be the decider. So if we had Hindsight or Fear, we could probably add that to the mix. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a tool. But it looks like if I could... now this is the trick, actually, because I need to get this reasonably quickly. So I don't know if I can afford to wait a minute to get the required memories. But we also have the Strathcoin whiskey. That's good for another 2. I'm very reluctant to use that Lignum Vitae. Like, I'll use it if I have to, but the fact of the matter is I'm going to need to use that again for something else. Oh, but we get fear from interacting with the chimeric larva. Then again, that takes as long as reading a book. It is worth remembering, though, that I haven't actually used these ambergris chunks. So maybe I can find a use for these. So it's a material and a gem. First of all, we need to find something that takes materials and gems. Okay, so this would be it, except that, well, maybe pentiments and precursors? But then I couldn't add my health in this case, so that makes it slightly less attractive. Let's not rule it out as a possibility, though. Okay, so we don't actually know that it's an old moment. But let's... Oh, yeah, that's really a non-starter then. Okay, so let's see what we can do with the foundry. So we'll add the health. Regret doesn't really do anything for us. Coil and... well, we could try Coil and Chasm, but let's see what happens with the pentiments and precursors. We may actually wind up spending the majority of the time trying to make pentiments and precursors work. I think I had forgotten that I had this little challenge ahead of me, and I don't mind spending the time figuring it out, because this is a big break for us, if we can lock in the Edict's Liminal and the Inks of Revelation. But we do, you know, as one might expect from a break like this, like we do actually need to bring we need to bring quite a bit to the table, specifically this table. All right. So I don't think I can make it work here. Unless I find some sort of scaly plant, but that's not happening. And again, I do have my outside option with the Lignum Vitae Blanc, but that one, I think because I'm putting a lot of pressure on using that here. Well, I do have more than one. I am putting a lot of pressure on finding these things, and it would be nice if I could work out an alternative, especially given that I'm likely going to want to use the old moment again. It would be nice to properly use the the items that I have available to me, especially because we also don't have unlimited amounts of Strathcoin whiskey. Okay, now we do have Bisclaver's Knot, but I don't know if we can use a mark. I think it's worth noting that none of the solar hours... Oop, that's not what I'm looking for. None of these allow for scale, and I think there's good reasons for that. Okay, so I'm going to change my expectations a little bit. I'm going to allow us to go later into the night, even if that means that we have to give up an element of the soul. But I definitely want to make sure I have the rest of my... I definitely want to make sure I have the rest of my material ready to go. So, let's, as a hypothetical, say that we're going to use the Nocturnary. So we can use the Earth Sign for a starter. We could use our health. Then we'd add Coil and Chasm, although we could also add Pentiments and Precursors, assuming that we get an old moment from that. We would then want to add another memory, and then, while I wouldn't add... Obviously, I would want to pour the glass. Yeah, that would bring us to 9, so that is something that we can replicate without too much trouble. Okay. I think I have a very clear idea of what I want to do for the day. Now, the next step is going to be planning out my... Or, hang on. Yeah, okay, so we will build the... that's no good. Trying to find something that'll let me... reading room will probably help here. So I need to find something to make the... Nope, that won't take moth. Oh, but it will take moon. Nope, doesn't work. So this won't take the tryst. But this won't take the tryst either. Well, maybe we don't need to worry about that. Maybe in this case we use the fet, and then we combine that with the... What, can't add the regret? Oh, I'm really, really making this hard for myself. Okay. Very reluctant to add the Fost here. My god. Okay. Can Nona save us on this? No. I am really running out of options with my desks. Okay, so Natan's desk is should have been my first spot. Oh, that's right, because we're not adding. So I can't add the well, actually, okay, so if I'm going for Inks of Revelation, then I can afford to use the Stolen Secret in this case. I don't feel great about that. So let me just verify. No, you know, the Stolen Secret I can take with me to the Violet Chamber. Ugh. There's got to be a way that I can combine either a Forge and Moth or a Winter and Moth. These are two that I need. Well, I mean, the other thing we can do is wait for what Mrs. Kill gives us on the other end of this, but that really does put me at the mercy of a couple of lucky breaks. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so we take the Edict's Liminal here. I would have normally been reluctant to add the Arab in this case. Yeah, we're one short on the... This is almost exactly what we need, though. Okay. There's one more place I can try, which is the workbench. Promising, but probably the same problem. Yeah, so it won't take the Tryst. We'll take the Regret. But we can add tools. So if we add the shears... So then it's a question of... I guess we can use the metal in this case. Okay, there we go. Name day riddle. 20 minutes in. I do have a game plan for the... I do have a game plan for the old moment, and I'm just a little scared that I'm going to run out of time. But let's see what Mrs. Kill gives us, because we don't have any other options anyway. Another regret. There 'tis in Gambino Tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but their scant trace of the continent in her accent now. Okay, so what we're going to do here is... well, actually, so I was originally going to talk with the chimeric larva, but it's just as easy for me to get fear... No, it's not, because I have to... Ah, yeah, I should have just read it from the book. Okay, well, that's fine. So let's talk with Mrs. Kill. So we will read quite a few books. So I need to preserve the health. Okay. So I'm just going to make some notes here. So we've got the impulse. We've got the foresight. So I should get a bittersweet certainty right away. So we can get that from Glimmerings. Sight we'll get from Consider. Old Moment we're trying to build right now. So in order to get that, I need to... get Fear. For that, we will use Ava's Desk. Let's read the Tantra of Worms. Okay, yeah, so the old moment is the thing that's kind of scaring me right now. Now, for the rest of this, it's a little delicate, so I don't want to completely commit everything to exploration, but the Lignum Vitae Blanc is helpful, so we're going to go for a walk on the moor. I don't see a major use for heart, so I am going to do some gardening. Gather in autumn, carrots, tomatoes, marrows, and blessed onions, all the unsung heroes of the stew pot. Maybe some grapes? No, quiet seasons. The earth is quiet, not barren, only sleeping. So in this case, we'll get the pears instead. And that's just because I was thinking a little bit before that I wanted to interact with the chimeric larva. So knowing that that's a potential priority down the road, it's better for me to pick up the ingredients. Okay, now we're not doing anything with the sweet bones. I do wonder, at this point, I will restore things at the sweet bones, if nothing else, just so I can make the money back. It is autumn when the leaves rustle. The silent landlady has served me apple pie with steamed cream in the window nook. I should keep the Fost set aside so that we can level up Inks of Revelation. Health is so that we can make the... Old Moment. We'll prepare the Strathcoin whiskey, pour out. So the whist is sort of running around free right now, but I'm actually okay just leaving that to hang around. Poured out. The collector has collected a distillery, it seems. Okay. Again, I'm feeling a little nervous, but I also think we're at a spot where I can feel comfortable. I should actually probably take the time to maybe what I can do is I can recover my earth sign with the whist. No, you know what? I don't think we're gonna have room for the rest of the ham. It's a little disorganized, but there we have it. Okay, so now I actually should use the whist. Okay, no, this actually justifies the renewal of something at the. This justifies the renewal of an element of the soul at the sweet bones. So, as before, I kind of want guarantees in terms of responses, so we're going to take a look at one of Dr. Levinson's prefigures. I could maybe try and find another painting in the house, but we'll use the whist for that. Investigate the object. You won't use this up or consume it by doing this. So that gets me the site. Now we're just waiting on the old moment. Okay. So I'm not too worried about a lot of what Mrs. Kill gives me. If she gives us a bonus... Oh, actually, on that note, I still need something for Revelation, so I'm actually down an element of the soul. Yeah, I got too aggressive in terms of using my elements of the soul. That could sink me. No, we'll probably be fine. Alright, again at night, one of Dr. Levinson's prefigures, a close and impossible copy of a painting made 20 years later by Kirchner, whose work Levinson often anticipated in his mirror dreams. So there's the site, watchful, hungry, both. I think we're going to leave the consider verb on its own for a little bit. Okay, the Tantra of Worms. The entomologist Juliana Zawadzowski eventually came to insist that this text was written by insects inhabiting a human skin. She never presented evidence for her claim. There are diagrams. The diagrams are not good to look upon. The Tantra explains various less than practical countermeasures against the worms, the serpents which are not serpents. Moth and Winter are closest to them and so understand their weaknesses, but both have their own perils. The lionsmith crushes them, but that's not recommended for mortals. The worms have always been eager to inhabit us. Here are the practices which make us inhospitable to them. There are diagrams. The diagrams are not good to look upon, and none of the practices they show would allow the subject to survive. Alright, so there's the fear that I was looking for. Again, we're really running out of time on this, but let's go to the Nocturnary and get everything sorted out. Satisfaction. Some appetites are easier to satisfy than others. Okay, so here's what I was trying to do. We take our health for the extra scale. So now we take our... I'm actually going to try pentiments and precurses just to see if that changes anything. Okay, so already we have a complication. So the Strathcoin whiskey won't help me here because I neglected to observe what the... So hindsight would have worked. Boy. This is very unlikely to work, but let's see if I can make the most of this. So technically, another glass of Strathcoins would do the trick. Now, these are fairly good scaly items, so I'd be a little reluctant to give those up. So I'm looking for roots, sustenance, beverages, fuel. You know, one of the wines, is it Schloss Jannings? Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting. Okay, I didn't even think of that. So Schloss Jannings with Strathcoin whiskey and a fear is actually sufficient potentially for me to make. Huh. I didn't even think of that. Well, I mean, this is the reason we take the time to figure this stuff out, right? If I take it for granted, then I'm never going to learn. Glimmerings, an anonymous prison diary written by a dreamer convicted of oniric irresponsibility and confined to the cucurbit. The prisoner is plainly terrified and bewildered by their situation and has been unable to wrangle a coherent explanation out of anyone, but the dreams keep coming and they keep writing them down. Snow, broken mirrors, half-heard sky music, flowers of white, red, and black, a blood-streaked winter dawn, the most notorious signifiers of oniric risk, fantastically vivid and detailed. No wonder they were locked up. Their final recorded dream is of a worm jewel beneath Brankrug Isle, which they open with a key carved from their finger bone. Okay. So, again, I'm feeling the pinch in terms of timing, but let's do our best. Let's also find another place. Well, I'll put the package in storage for now. Okay, so the first thing here is to see whether or not we can actually make an old moment using pentiments and precursors, because that may not actually be an option for us. Interesting. But this does accept scales, so in this case we can craft the old moment. Again, late in the day for this, but we should have everything else ready to go. Now, I am still looking for revelation, so that we're going to want to talk with Mrs. Kill about. And we may have to cross this over into another broadcast because I know I'm already overdue. Okay, actually, I think... Yeah, no, hang on. We're good. Because I can use this shaft when we get the make your final choices signed. So, we're building an old moment. We have an impulse. We're building a name day riddle. We have foresight, which I'll put here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Name day riddle is 5. Old moment is 6. Revelation is 7. And I have the FOSS to level things up. So, Um, that so overall, this is pretty good news. There is actually one last thing I want to take a look at now, and that's to see if I can order Strathcoyne whiskey from Cater and Hero. No, we can get copper wire, ham, Evening Isles coffee. Okay. So I may want to be a little more careful with I may want to be a little more careful with the whiskey, given that it's the only source of 2 scale that I, well, not the, yeah, it's the only kind of liquid 2 scale that I have right now. But as always, it's worth trading off what I think. If I have a use for it, it's one that I want to follow up on. But again, like, this is something we can also feed the miner to move along. So I don't know. If I can find an alternative, I'll take it, and I feel like that alternative's probably the Nocturnary. In fact, I've got my notes in front of me right now, so let me just work that out really quick. So if we put the Earth sign in the Omen slot, and my pen's not working, so maybe I do this on my own time. But yeah, so if we do an Earth sign, yeah, that's not working out. Okay, well, I'm going to work that out on my own, but what I'm sort of thinking here is we take the Earth sign, that goes in the Omen slot, then the Fear goes in the Shadow, so that's 4, Soul is 5, Pentiments and Precursors is 9, which means we just put the Hindsight in place, and then we don't really need to give up anything kind of consumable to make an old moment. So it's a lot that we're investing in terms of memories, but I definitely feel like that's something that we're going to be able to do tomorrow. But again, all of that will be handled later. Right now we want to worry about leveling up Inks of Revelation. I'll be able to bring the Stolen Secret over into the next day, which should give us a leg up on Edict's Liminal. And then at the end of the season, we should be able to decide where we want to put the surplus, Knock, and Moth. But again, all of that will be in a future episode. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Take care.